Welcome to I Am Unfiltered in January 26th. I don't really know how we got here, but here we are. I'm Lindy Tenger, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Ike Isaacson. And today we're going to talk about bold predictions for HME in 2026. We've got a lot going on, as you all know, and then also as we get into our episode today, you'll understand what we mean by a lot going on. But we just wanted to take some time and talk through some of the big rocks that are happening. We really believe that this year is not going to be defined by acronyms. It's going to be defined by how we lead people. And those people that are closest to the patient really hold the gold. So if you're sitting here wondering how competitive bidding, annual accreditation, Medicare
Mm.
Advantage will feel on your floor and what bold bets to place now, stick with us because today we're calling our shots for 2026. Ike, where are we going to
Yeah.
start with our bold predictions? We're going to give you three today,
Oh,
but let's start with kind of one that you've got.
all right. Again, I say this, if you ever get to hear me talk or when I write, like what I have the coolest job in all of VGM, and I think quite honestly in all the industry because I get to be out with everybody, right? So I'm in and out of shops every week. I'm talking with legislators, but I'm talking with amazing providers all over the country. And as such, right, like you start to develop trending questions or trending observations, I guess. So bold prediction that puts me on the spot just a little bit, but I think we can both agree that the biggest one to me is that solid leaders, quality leaders that are investing in their people, investing in their process, are going to ultimately be able to overcome pretty much, if not everything, that gets thrown our way. Like that confidence that's born of been there, done that, that confidence that's born of energy in the face of adversity, the confidence that's born of just the being able to, like what I always talk about, tie the boots on a little tighter, roll the sleeves up, and let's go. So, because at the end of the day, wherever I travel, right, the key has been culture. The key has been the culture that's created. The culture is probably going to be the most important piece of 2026 because that culture is going to lead you, well, it leads to my first bold prediction, if you will, is competitive bidding is going to create a year of either chaos or it's going to create clarity for folks. And what do I mean by that? Obviously, we've got that's like kind of the biggest rock that's out there right now. You referenced the rocks, right? Good EOS reference is that's going to be the biggest disruptor of 2026 for a lot of folks out there. As the final rules played out, maybe it's not competitive bidding is not going to be as impactful industry wide, but for those that it's going to affect, it is going to be bold. So that culture piece comes in there as we're looking at, we've got all kinds of pressure on our intake folks, our customer service reps are going, there's confusion, there's new rules, there's new ways of doing business, there's different ways that we're going to be interacting with that patient, that consumer. And owners are going to really be torn between a rock and a hard place or mission and margin. Right. And so we can look at it as a chess match. We can look at it as checkers. But at the end of the day, we need to look at it, the impact it's going to have on real people. And we are so good at an industry. We are like almost to a fault. We're so good of making sure the people we serve in their homes get what they need. Sometimes it's easy to overlook the people that are doing the work. And so we focus so much on the people that we're serving. Ultimately, as a leader, those leadership cultures that I see as a leader, that the people that work for me or that work with me, those are my customers, right? I need to invest. So those who can take the confusion off of their people's backs, that can create streamlined processes, give visual timelines, have regular cadence meetings, whether it be impact maps or new scripting as they're having discussions because they're going to be getting questions that maybe they haven't gotten before, especially as we're looking at potentially, transitioning consumer bases and getting into new lines of business and looking at other business opportunities. Keeping the whole team informed, or at least creating an atmosphere, an environment that people feel comfortable and confident asking questions is going to be really key to that successful piece. I've seen different, again, I get to steal a lot of really cool ideas from around the country, but like different 20-minute stand-up meeting to start a week on a Monday morning, just to set the tone, set the expectation, rally the troops, get folks going, I think is going to be really important. Utilizing resources that are out there around competitive bidding. If we're speaking specifically to that topic, VGM's got a ton of resources on our government site. There's folks like AA Home Care, NCART's got information, but utilizing the resources that are available, reading the information, but then also creating a place for your staff to go to maybe get quick hit information or to get some clarity around some things that are happening. And maybe they don't need to read everything that comes out. But as a leader, it's incumbent upon us. What are those bullet points? What are those easy to digest, understand, relay, all of those kinds of things? And I think that creating opportunities for that shared communication, open questioning, it's okay to be concerned. It's okay to be stressed. It's okay to be freaked out because my job is changing a little bit in the way I'm doing my job. Those are all, to me, those are huge pieces. And so, again, like that first bold prediction is it is going to be upon leadership to dictate whether this is a year of chaos or it's a year of clarity for those folks.
I
That's
love
that's
that.
that's my one. How's that?
Yep. It's great. It's great. Clear is kind, as we know.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit more about the resources that we have at VGM and even the faces. Who's
yeah.
who this
Oh
go
yeah.
around with competitive bidding, and talk about our webpage that we have that's continually updated because we
Hmm.
take a lot of that work out off of leaders' hands or out of leaders'
Yeah.
hands and put it in one resource that's already there for you. So you get to look like the
Yeah.
hero, and really, we've got this resource already available.
Yeah, easy, like really quick on the resource piece, right? It's an easy VGM government search, right? It'll take you right
Yeah.
there. It's going to identify, we've got a competitive bidding tab that's going to be able to take you in that, and it's going to give you the history. Like we don't just like, we don't recycle the stuff as far as pulling it out once it's old. You can go back and trace the history of this cacophony, right? And be looking at those kinds of things. There's different resources that'll dive specific into CGM. They're going to dive specific into the supplies in some of those pieces. We've got other things that are going to talk specifically about what are some alternatives? What can you be looking at? Maybe you're like, hey, I don't do enough of this that's within that remote item delivery. I don't do enough of it to make it make sense to continue to doing it. But what are some other opportunities? What are some different payer sources? What are some retail opportunities? What are other product opportunities and such? So there's a lot of different things on there like that. That being said, like for me, I can read every document in the world, but I'm going to have questions or I'm going to need clarity. I'm going to need to bounce it off somebody. And we've got a wealth of information as well in our people behind those documents. Melanie Ewald, our vice president of payer relations, has stepped up big and just really embraced that role of being the go-to for folks. And it can be anything from a quick one hit question to an hour to 2 hours to follow up, right? Give her a call. We've got Kelly Grahovic and the Van Halen group that can take you through the entire bid process and can work with you to process that, or it could be one-off questions, those kinds of things. Those two have been working diligently, read every piece of paper, read every notice, read all of that stuff. And what's great about it is, right, there's no way for one resource to know everything. So what I always tell people, even if we don't know it, let us find out for you, right? Let us do the research. You've got a business to run. You've got people to lead. You've got patients to serve. If you've got something, let us be your back office, as it were, to start looking at those things. And yeah, ask the question. I long past worrying about asking dumb questions because if I don't know it, it's not a dumb question, right? I need that information. And in my case, I may have to ask it 4, 5, 6, 10 times, right? But at the end of the day, this is about creating clarity for your teams. And in order to do that successfully, you have to have clarity around what direction you want to go. So utilize the resources, holler at Melanie Ewald, give Kelly Grahovic a call, give me a holler, and I'll push you to one. No, I'll help you as much as I can and to the extent that I know. But the resources are available. You don't have to do this alone. You don't have to be the expert in everything. Let us help you navigate the ins and outs of that. You worry about serving people, leading your team, and putting your company in the best possible position to move forward.
For sure. Those who truly lean in and use the resources that they have available across the industry, not just VGM,
Yeah,
but we try to
yeah,
put it all into one place so it is easy. The other thing I think when it comes to clarity that I honestly personally use a lot is whatever you're using for your AI companion. So in VGM, we use Copilot because it's safe. We have our own instance. It's all nice in our own four walls of
Yeah.
our building, but I use it all the time to really take something that I'm trying to cascade down in communication for the team or better understand myself, whatever it might be, put it into your
Yeah.
virtual
Yeah.
assistant and ask it, what are the main points here? What would this mean to X, Y, and Z role? What would this mean to a customer service rep? What would this mean to a delivery driver? What would this mean to a biller? What would this
Yeah.
mean to a nurse? That kind of thing. And honestly, most of the time, and especially if I keep probing it just a little bit, it provides me with the clarity that I need myself, which in turn makes the messages just clear for the team and for managers to pass down and to get to whoever it is we're trying to get that stickiness for and
Yeah.
truly get people to understand the why and also what's in it for them. Because I think a lot of times all of this is just, you can't get through the clutter and you can't easily get to what's in it for me, what matters to my team.
Right.
But there are tools out there now that can really help you as a leader with clarity.
Oh, 100%. And what I love
Yeah,
about that is obviously the government world loves really long, complicated documents, right?
for
Like it
sure.
loves to, and I think it's intentional, right? Is to confuse people like me and make me want to quit. What I loved about that new technology, it's not new, but newer to me, right? Because in the past, I've
Yeah,
only used it to be like, what was the name of that one actor in that movie and the what? But like to be able to take a fairly complex document, say, hey, give me the 10 most important bullet points I need to know. And it boils it down for me. And I think, yeah, that's a great add to that, Lindy, is that use the resources around you, but then
yeah,
you can take that even further to tailor them to what you're looking for it to say, to create, it can help create messaging. It can help you in challenging situations to clarify your own mind around things. I think that's, yeah, that's a great add and a great resource that we all have access to some one extent or another. It's just not always, I always joke, I'm like an immigrant to computers, right? I lived in a land that didn't have them when I was younger. And so it's not ever my first thought. I'm working on it. But I think the more that we can bring that top of mind, it reduces that stress and it provides more clarity and we can move forward. I think it works out well.
yeah. Yeah, and it saves us all time, which we're all looking for more of. So I love that part of it.
Yes, exactly. So we
All
ready for
right.
my second bold
Yes.
prediction? All right.
Ready.
It's around
Ready.
and yeah, yeah. This one, man, this one, if you want to have a discussion that makes people scratch their heads, but annual accreditation.
Ooh,
Yeah, not necessarily competitive bid, but it's in the final rule. Annual accreditation is going to turn always on into your advantage.
yeah.
And I understand I'm not being intentionally delusional. I understand that it's a big lift. I understand that it's repetitive. I understand all of those things. But for those organizations, for those folks that embrace the process and create a streamlined process around achieving the goals of annual accreditation and the workload behind that, we can actually work that attention to detail and that mission focus into our day-to-day culture as a result of embracing the processes that go into that. And again, so understanding the challenges that's always there, what we're trying to do is minimize that, not just for ourselves as leaders, but for those folks doing the day-to-day work. And so how can we figure out how to do that? How
Yeah.
can we just appropriate it into our culture and make it something that we can be proud of, make it one of our superhero strengths, right? That we are always ready, always on. I don't care. Walk into my building anytime you want because we've got this on lock and we're ready to go. And so, again, it's a mind shift change. It's a
Right.
forced mind shift change. Like, I don't know that any of us would choose to have changed this, but as a result of the rule or within the final rule, that's the attention we're going to have to pay to it. And I think if we can reframe it into a constant quality, continuous improvement, all of those kinds of catchphrases, right? But it becomes part of our day to day and it becomes part of our superpower, part of our strength. It's micro audits. Back in the day when I was in this world, I used to have well, this ages me. I apologize. I had a couple file cabinets that had every section of the audit in the survey information, like rules, procedures, policies, all of those kinds of things. It was just the audit closet, right? It was those cabinets in that closet. That's all that went in or out of there. And so as we updated things, as we pick a section to work on each week or each month, Anything we had to update, pull, replace, right? Grow that. Now, again, we're in the age of computers, all that kind of stuff, but you understand the analogy follows the same. Because we need to now set up what was a 3-year accreditation cadence down to a one, we've got to figure out how we compress that. So micro audits, micro learning, constant, frequent, I'd say constant, but very frequent attention to those documents, right? We create the cadence to start with, and then we start to narrow it down to specific day-to-day tasks, week tasks. People and I love being able to check things off. I love having a list, and by the end of the day, if it ever happens, I'll let you know, but being able to have everything checked off. How do we break it down to that level of detail so that we can celebrate being done or celebrate the success of being able to check those off? And then have maybe you have a compliance corner, or you do meetings specific to our confidence level and where we're at today, what we need to do, and then celebrate each one of those accomplishments, celebrate moving through down the line, find opportunities to make it part of the culture in a positive way, in a bring it on way. I think that's going to be huge. I think that how we go about it, because we know that a leader's attitude, a leader's perception, and what a leader articulates is going to set the tone for the rest of the organization. We've all worked with folks that maybe are a little bit negative. It gets to be a drag. Sunday scaries are a real thing. That Monday morning to drive to work, you just go a little slower, right? Versus somebody that's, hey, we've got this, roll up our sleeves, tie our boots a little bit tighter, let's get after this, we're a team, let's go. So again, that mindset, and it sounds simple, it's not, but at the end of the day, it really is, because how we approach it is going to dictate how our team approaches it. And ultimately, if we can set those things in place, if we can go at it from a positive frame of reference, from a challenge that we can overcome, we're going to celebrate this together. All of a sudden, those tasks become less arduous and more something to celebrate and to accomplish together. So that's kind of my thought around those.
Yeah, you said, I think, a key word when you just said it in a sentence, just real quick. Maybe you didn't even think about it, but you said the word routine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even one thing that at VGM we've really in the last probably 18 months to 2 years tried to get a lot better at who needs to know this information when, instead of all the one-off emails that go flying around. It's like, nope, we know that this information's here. We know I'm going to get this update monthly, weekly, quarterly, whatever it might be, because we're trying to do that same thing in our business just because we need to better allocate resources and our own use of
Right.
time. And so, talk about that word routine and annual accreditation and how
Yeah.
that kind of marries up with what your prediction is here.
Yeah, and I use the word routine. You can change it out for different things, but I like to control what I can control. Okay. Now, there's times that's not a huge scope, right? As things are flying around, as things are happening, especially like in the government regulatory world, things are changing, things are moving, rates are moving, ideas are moving, whatever. I like the opportunity to say, okay, here's what I can control. Here's what I know. Here's what I know I can get done. And it helps to block out some of the noise, right? So yeah, a routine. I know that we have to have X, Y, and Z done every month. All right.
Yeah.
Those I know. I can control that. I have some say in how that gets accomplished. The more that we can make these things, whether it be competitive bidding, whether it be accreditation, whether it be
Yeah.
just day to day
Together.
business,
Yeah.
right? Like the more that we can make things happen almost by muscle memory, like I know this is what this is going to be, it allows us to control that, allows us to plan for that, it allows to do that. So once we have the routine, the things we know we can control, that gives us more bandwidth to then address, take care of the things that maybe are outside of our control, right? Because we've all had the experience of getting behind on our planning or getting behind on our today to dos, or we've just got a day we're not feeling it, right? Like I have the old axiom is you got to give 100% all the time. That's not possible, right? You may get 80% of me today, Lindy. I'm going to give you all 80, but that last 20, I just don't have it. The more that we can make things familiar, the more that we can take the scary out of it, the more that we can take the surprise out of it, or the deadline is tomorrow. I was the king of that in high school. Yeah, the more we can plan and have the foresight and know I've got this thing, it actually reduces the amount of bandwidth we have to spend on it. And that frees us up then to deal with the Monday morning fires, the Friday afternoon at 4:30 discharge, the driver maybe that didn't show up for work, or the accident that happened, or the other things. It's all about that leadership capital, which is a whole nother discussion to have. But how much do I have to give every day? If I can control the controllables, that gives me a lot more bandwidth to take care of and address those things outside of the controllables. And it gives me more time to address the personal side of
For sure.
the employee relationship as well. But yeah, I just think that routine is going to be key in just making it so it's muscle memory. And again, it allows you then to focus energies elsewhere because you know you've got that unlocked.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. It's so that everything doesn't feel like a fire drill. It's taking some time up front to do some planning
Right.
so that way, at least around those items, the team knows what to expect. And I don't know about you, but the gray in life or kind of that area of limbo when I don't really know what to expect or I don't know what's coming is probably when I'm the most uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
there's times in life that are more like that than others, and as I've gotten older, I get more comfortable living in limbo, but it's a hard spot to be, I think, no matter if it's in your professional life or your personal life. And
Yeah.
so the more that we can at least, like you said, control the controllables or plan the things that we can plan to, there's always going to be unplanned. There's always going to be fire drills. There's always going to be a
Yeah.
customer that's in need beyond what we could have ever predicted. But the more that we can at least have that framework and some routine for our people, I think that then it feels less chaotic. Here again, some clarity
Yeah.
in this prediction as well. But I think wholeheartedly agree that teams do much better if we can reduce some of that chaos and just show them what they can expect. And then I think they respond a lot better when there's things that are beyond our control, because there's always
Yeah.
going to be.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That gets rid of two of our bold predictions. We have one more, and it's around another. This word seems like a naughty word to me, or it's two words, but it seems like I'm saying a naughty word when I say it. But let's talk Medicare Advantage. It's really hard to ignore this as the percent of population over the age of 65 gets onto these plans. The
Hmm.
plans, from my understanding, change every year. And I think that's what can cause a lot of confusion, even with my own parents, as I talk to them about it. Their medicine might change through the year, their equipment needs might change, whatever might change through the year. And then they see these commercials on TV and it says, oh, this is only X dollars. This doesn't cost you anything out of pocket for X, Y, and Z or for your prescriptions. And then
Yeah.
a lot of people are going and changing plans, but they have not checked a single one of the prescriptions. And it's not their fault. It's because they're being lured and marketed to. And then all of a sudden, when they get to the provider or to their doctor or whoever it might be, they might not be covered like they thought they were. And then if you look at the back end of providers and what your teams are trying to get through with these plans, they're all different. They all have different
Hmm.
rules. They love to appeal. They love to delay. They love to deny all the things. We know that your team feels that first.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot. And so our prediction here is that those that can really break down those plans, again, clarity, understand those plans,
Hmm.
present the data to their team so that they can better work through their day to day or whatever it might be per their role, it just becomes a little bit easier to manage because we know they're not going away at
Yeah.
any time that we can see. We see that the population on these plants is getting bigger, but we also know that the headache has been real. It's like a migraine that doesn't go away. So, how can we really drive the team's morale and give them more visibility into the ins and outs of these plans? And I think that we can do that with things like dashboards. I heard someone told me this is not something that I made up, but it's the rule of three. And
Okay.
so if you can drive something complex down into three things to break apart for your team, so they might have a lot of these plans to manage and to know the ins and outs of, but it's okay. this X, Y, and Z plan. We know that it has to have this kind of prescription, this kind of prior auth. This is what out of network means in this plan. Like whatever those three things are, use your team members to start breaking it down into the rule of three and at least getting those on paper. And then tracking win rates with the team.
Mhm.
So when things do go through, when something gets paid, that needs to be celebrated. And I think your team members for doing that should be celebrated. Did you have any thoughts here? Because I know this is also a
Yeah.
topic that you hear about on the road all the time. And again, it was just something we couldn't leave off the table.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I have it along those same lines, but maybe speaking of kind of the people impact of it, right? It applies to
Yes.
Medicare Advantage or Medicaid, but it really applies to healthcare in general right now. With we're seeing this battle play it around the Affordable Care Act. We're seeing battles played around about Medicaid funding. We're seeing battle like all of these things. And it was I was just with a group not that long ago, and a big topic of conversation was the amount rough phone calls that
Yeah.
frontline, that customer service rep or whatever title is the one that's taking calls into whoever it is from the patients themselves is really taxing
Yeah.
because we can all the things you said, right? We want to make sure that people have the most up-to-date information. We want our staff to have the most answers, that we want them to have the most opportunity to support people. But at the end of the day, that person on the other end of that call is frustrated, right?
Yeah.
You maybe have been their third or fourth or fifth call, and they just want somebody to figure it out. And I don't know about you, but if I'm not having my best day, somebody ends up maybe feeling a little bit of my wrath, right? Or I'm not in the best place to articulate my need and or accept feedback. And there's a whole group of us talking about this, and I just keep coming back to we have to make sure that our people are equipped with the most up-to-date answer, whether it be scripting, bullet points, practice, role modeling, those like that role playing, that but the biggest thing that I always tell people is you've got to really keep in mind you can't take it personally,
Yeah.
right? You're going to do what you can do. That you're talking to that person on, it's not their best day. They maybe had just spent an hour and a half on hold four times with their carrier, their insurance person. They've tried to talk to their doctor's office. They finally get a live person, and you maybe bear the brunt of a day's worth of frustration, not feeling well, not getting what they need, not having the resources, not having the answers, frustrated, angry, whatever that case may be. And it's hard because what makes us so good at this job is our caring, our compassion, our desire to help. That also makes this job so hard on us because there's times you just don't have the answer. And sometimes you can take that, you can own that, you can let that in and feel really badly. I know this sounds a little squishy, but like at the end of the day, identifying the fact that like I'm here to help this person and I'm probably gonna get their worst shot. My job is to stay calm, stay compassionate, stay caring, understand where it's coming from, and then doing everything in my power that I can to either answer the question or get enough information so that I can turn around, get the resources, and follow up with them to ask. Because again, this isn't, yeah, we're talking specifically to MA, but this is healthcare in general. And it's a
Yeah.
tough world right now. And as leaders, we've got to be cognizant of that of our folks because we've got to make sure that we're keeping them prepped, but also giving them a space to download or to take some pressure off and understand that the negativity they're taking in isn't their fault. And we need to match
Yeah.
that with as much helpfulness and with much positivity as we can in return. So again, that's my soapbox on it. But again, operationally, I love rule of three, making sure people understand what's going
Yeah.
on, celebrate wins, know what's happening. But then again, that people part of it is making sure that we're there to support and help our staff on those days that aren't so great.
For sure. And then understand where it's the hardest, whose shoulders really take on things that some of us don't have to face on a day-to-day basis. And that's those frontline managers and the frontline staff. They
Yeah.
need more love and
Yeah.
grace and
Yeah.
support and celebrations really than ever. They need the reminder of the why and the big difference that they make. And I'm sure that's hard to see in the midst of the chaos sometimes is what I'm doing work that matters,
Yeah. Oh
but
yeah.
they're doing amazing purpose work. And yeah, I love that. So that rounds out our big, bold predictions. I don't think that they come of any surprise. And I think that every provider and manufacturer will have different viewpoints of this year based on what hits them or what hits home or what's
Right.
closest to their business. Because let's face it, our members are diverse. This industry is getting more and more diverse. And so it looks different for everyone. I think you've probably found that in our advocacy work
Oh yeah.
that like our members are all across the board. And our job is to help this industry better and to help all members, but it isn't one size fits all in
Mm-mm.
any stretch.
No, no. And that's really at the end of the day, that's why we are here to support. We are here to
Right.
help. We are here to guide. We're here to educate, all those things. But at the end of the day, it's really incumbent upon each and every one of us to make sure that we're asking questions, right? Help guide each other, help understand, help do those things because the quote, right? Purpose wins when pressure rises, right? Like purpose over pressure, it helps to minimize. It helps if I know what I'm supposed to be doing, if I know where my resources are, if I know I have, the writing of an email or the touch of a button or the picking up the phone, if I can do that, like I know that role, we can help move that pressure down or contain it and understand it and deal with it. And I think that's huge. And really, that's at the end of the day what we at VGM try to do every day. And again, I may not have the answer, but I'm in a great place to find it for you. And so make sure that you're reaching out. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to stress out. You just need to make a phone call. You need to find out the resources. Even again, we have a ton. We can get more. We can track them down. We can be your back office when it comes to trying to take your purpose to reduce that pressure.
So true. I've thought a lot about membership recently and what it means to be part of VGM as a member. And one of those things, and I was just at a provider, and I think all my thoughts came out into this one sentence because I said it in the meeting, but it was we employ these experts and we're trying to figure out every day if there's another layer of expertise needed because one of our providers members have asked us for something and enough times where we're like, ooh, we probably need that expertise on staff. It would be impossible for every single member to employ every single level of expertise and all
Yeah.
of these different nuances across your business. But that's why we can, because we've got all of you together in this community where we can have these experts on staff and those that truly just pick up the phone and call your member account manager or call your regional account member manager. They will get you the answer. They might not know it, and they might know it, but they might not. I might not know the answer. You might not know the answer, but we've got someone here that does. And so I just want to put that out as a reminder of it's like a gym membership. You might be paying for it every month and not going to the gym. I've never done that before in my life with any membership. But this membership is one that you really need to use and take advantage of because so much is included in being a member and having expertise at your fingertips and people that care on the other line. We will literally listen if it's something going on with your child or celebrate you with when someone graduates high school or gets into college, whatever that might be. That, like literally, that's how much we care about our members and our partners in the industry. So just don't forget that.
Yeah. No, we're here. That's our day-to-day job, right, Lindy? Is to work with,
Live
figure
and
out,
breathe it.
help, support.
Yeah.
And again, if you've got a direction you want us going, you just got to pick up the phone. You got to write me an email and we'll go after it for you. So excited to continue into this
For
next
sure.
year with a ton of great
Yes.
leaders and a ton of inspiring opportunities to grow, to be frustrated together, but also to overall celebrate together because we know we will be by the end of it.
Yep. I love it. So we will navigate policy and we will modernize this year, but really who we predict is going to set the pace in HME this year is the strong, competent leaders who create clarity over chaos for their team. So This episode today is brought to you by your VGM Village. We are ready to support your people and your patients, no matter what you need. Lead through people this year, and 2026 becomes the year that your company will level up. Thank you for joining us on I Am Unfiltered, and we cannot wait for February and to talk to you again next month.